All right, I told you if you have any questions about body language, just email them to me. bodylanguagequestions@gmail. If you've got any questions about body language, send them in and I'll answer them. So here's the first one from this group is, what are some tips to help de-escalate a person who is in freeze, fight, or flight? It's actually a good question. A lot of situations can cause that, obviously. Let's say the person you're dealing with is someone at work. For some reason, they're all worked up. It may just be mad. It may be a person who's not violent usually, but you never know when somebody's in that situation when the limbic system's all worked up. So what you want to do is you want to talk calmly and quietly to them. Don't get all loud and try. They're going to be up here. So if you're going the matching and mirroring situation where you're trying to calm someone down and all that, you'd start up there and then talk them down. But in this case, you want to talk calmly and continue to talk calmly. You might start up a little bit, like you're ramped up a little bit, and then slowly, as you speak with them, then slowly roll yours down, because after a few minutes, they'll start matching what you're saying and your behavior and how you sound. What are some good guidelines to follow when on a Zoom meeting? That's a pretty good one. Actually, a lot of people will give you advice about Zoom meetings and makes you look goofy, because they're saying, do all this and come in and do all that stuff. When you're in a Zoom, you got to be you, You have to pay attention to what's going on and all that. But if it gets to where you're putting on a show, oof, that gets a little bit too much. And it's hard to keep that up. So someone who's trying to keep that up, after a while, they'll lose their fire for it. It just looks kind of weird, because then they'll fire back up. So be yourself. So it's a relaxed thing, because people like people who are relaxed and easy to talk to. So you don't want to come off like you're all, like you're a show. It's one thing if somebody's called you and you're having a meeting with them and they're the instructor or something, they're telling you how to do something. That's one thing. If you're having a meeting with somebody one-to-one, like a coach or a trainer or something, that's different. They're in control. You let them do the show part of it. But you just act, use your hands and stuff. People like to see illustrators, but look in the camera. Mark Bowden has this really cool thing that he showed me where he has a little, he's drawn a little smiley face on those little stickers, and he puts that right above his camera. And he looks at that when he's talking to the camera. So he's looking at a little smiley face. And I do that a lot, especially if I know it's going to get boring. Oh, man. And I just talk to that little smiley face. Works like a charm. But that's what I usually do, is just talk to that thing like I'm talking to it, like we're talking right now. So, and I try to be myself, because it gets weird if you try not to be. You got your normal self and your professional self. If I'm talking to somebody who's done something they shouldn't have, I'm not going to talk to them like this. I will at the beginning. When it gets going, it definitely changes. They're on Dr. Phil or on, a TV show or something, or the news, it's different. You're going to be your business self. But once you have shown that you've got a business self to these people, you start relaxing, lean into it. Don't slouch or anything. You got to look good. You got to look like you know what's going on. But don't put on a show. You don't want to put on a show, because that's hard. That's hard to keep doing, is the show part of it. It's tough reading. I hope you don't learn. Could you give an example of someone being glib as it related to attention seeking? Can somebody be glib through text or email? When somebody's being glib, you're dealing with a narcissistic personality. It's actually one of the things you look for when you're looking for psychopaths. It's one of the psychopathic traits in the Robert Hare's psychopath test. And being glib is you don't really know what you're talking about, but it sounds great. And as you deliver it, but you're not necessarily an authority on whatever you're talking about. You may not even know what the answer is or anything about the subject you're talking about, but you just talk about it. It's like I was telling you about something I wouldn't know about. There's so much I don't know about. I don't know. Something about a car. I don't know anything about cars. Transmission. So you asked me about a transmission. I was being glib, and you were going to fix yours. And I'd be pretending like I knew how to fix mine, but I don't. So I would be like, to be glib, I would be, oh yeah, fixing your transmission. That's nothing. It's so, when you get into it, you can go deep. You can go really deep. So you have to watch what you're doing. You have to really be, I'd say if this is your first time, go on in and you just go on about how you act like you know about what it's about, whatever the subject is, and you have no earthly idea. You may have an earthly idea, but you can know expert on it. And what you're saying again, it may not be the truth. And usually when somebody's delivering that, it's really smooth and it looks good. Yeah, and it looks believable because they're good at it. But it'll sound weird. You'll know it'll sound a little bit off. It's probably why you're asking. So you'll know it when it sounds off. All right. Are there specific shoplifting tells to look for? Yeah. Yeah. One of my favorite things to do is look for shoplifters when I'm standing in line somewhere and I'm bored or I'm in the store or something. Right. So if you're standing, let's say in Target or something, or you're shopping in Target, watch people. What they'll do is if you look at them, quite often if it's somebody who's taking a lot of stuff, they'll just smile real big at you. They'll just smile, and thinking you'll look comfortable or feel odd for keep looking at them, and you'll look away. They'll smile, hey, how are you? That kind of thing. The last guy I saw stealing stuff, a shoplifter, was in, where were we? You were in some clothes place. This guy was like putting she was squatted down behind this shelf. He was putting a bunch of shirts up in his shirt. So as he was doing it, I saw him doing it. He just smiled real big. Hey, how are you? And I was like, good, man. How's it going? So watch for them looking around. You'll see them be real still and they'll look. And it's not just they'll look around like this. They'll take those big looks around the room and they'll be watching people. And they're fairly easy to spot once you know what to look for. But I would look for that. Watch how they lock eyes with you when you look at them. They look at you like, is this person looking at me? That kind of thing. My old girlfriend, when I lived in Boston, I went to Berkeley College of Music. I dated this girl named Giselle. She was from Brazil. And we didn't have any money at all, me and my buddies. And it was me and my roommate Andrew lived in our apartment at the time, just two of us. And then we really didn't have any money. We were starving in there. And so my girlfriend says, let's go to the store. Go to the, I was like, look, we own a grocery store, man. We're starving to death in here. I'm hungry. I don't want to go. And Andrew's like, I don't want to go either. She goes, let's just go walk around. So I'm like, all right, let's go walk around the dang grocery store. So we walk around the grocery store and she's just talking. We're talking. And Andrew looking at all these things we want. Because what we would do is when we didn't have a whole lot of money, we would like a couple of dollars, we'd get potatoes. If I never eat another potato as long as I live, I don't care. Because we would get potatoes because they were cheap. We could eat those. And that's why we were all skinny back then. Because we had all we ate was potatoes. We were smoking cigarettes back then. So we like smoke cigarettes and eat potatoes. Really uncool. As we're walking around the grocery store looking at stuff, she goes, okay, let's go. I'm like, okay, let's go. Because the grocery store, it was close to the house. So we walked back home to our apartment. And I sit down on this couch, and my roommate Andrew, he sits down on the other side of the couch, and she starts pulling all the stuff out of her clothes. She pulled the chicken out, like, little chicken cutlet things. She pulled those out. She pulled out like pancake mix. She put all this stuff in her clothes. She just shoplifted like 2 days worth of food. And I was like, I can't believe this. And she didn't have any money either. We about lost our minds. We ate like kings for 2 days. We had waffles and then pancakes and then chicken. And then what else she got? She got a lot of other stuff. Like spaghetti, things you never think of that would be a lot of food. Because we're guys, we don't know. We eat potatoes. A lot of times you'll see them, for shoplifters, you'll see them check it out before they take anything. They get right up next to it. And the move they'll make is going to be quick usually. It's nothing really smooth. They just slowly put it up under their shirt. They look around, and put it in there or stick it in their bag or whatever they're going to do. And that's when they'll put it in. I'm not one to be tattling on shoplifters or anything. But if you're looking for them, how would you interpret someone pulling their cheek during a normal conversation? And that's just an adapter. You know what adapters are. We've talked about those on here. It's just getting rid of that built up stress or tension. It could be anything from they're bored that you've started talking about something they're not into, or something makes them uncomfortable. You may be getting close to something they're not interested in talking about. Maybe talking about somebody that makes them mad, or a situation that gets them worked up. It might be all kinds of stuff, but usually that indicates discomfort, a little bit of psychological, because they just can't get up and leave. So maybe one of those things where they're ready for it to be over, they're bored, or, like I said before, upset about something, or could be getting worked up. Um, I remember it could be depending on the baseline, it could be like a little tick they have, people pull on their ears. Some people just pat on their face, tap on their face, and they push in on it. That's called facial denting. When that happens, it's, those are all adapters, self-soothing behaviors, self-pacifying behaviors that people use. That's what I remember. What it could be, like an OCD situation. Or one time, there's this band I was working with. This mandolin player is a bluegrass band, and this mandolin player, for some reason, when I would talk to him, he would stick his pinky up his nose. Just like as he was talking, he would stick his pinky up his nose, and I thought, this guy's totally messing with me. I didn't know what he was doing, and I knew what he was doing, but I didn't know why he was doing it. Right. So every time we get into a conversation, I'd be telling about, we were talking about the arrangement of the song or whatever as we were going through it. He'd stick his pinky up his nose, and he kept doing it. He would just sit there and he'd talk to me. I said, dude, don't stick your pinky up your nose, man. What are you doing? This guy, yeah, I'm sorry. And he kept doing that. Well, come to find out, he had OCD. He had obsessive compulsive disorder. And that's one of the things. A lot of people say, oh, I'm OCD. I do this and that. Until you met somebody or know somebody that really has it, like has it for real. Ooh, it can be rough on them. It's tough. You see them, that thing where they turn the lights on and off a number of times, or, have to slap their leg 2 times and click their teeth once so their mom doesn't die, or whatever it is. It's tough, man. I mean, it's funny to talk about, I guess, sometimes. But man, I wouldn't want that. That's something that's hardcore, you know. So anyway, um, if I watch a video of someone lying, I often don't catch the lie. But if I'm in the room with a liar, I can see the lie from a mile away. There's a reason I don't see the lie on a video, but I can feel it in the room. Yeah. Usually it's your brain sees things when you see the whole person, you can focus on them. Obviously, you'll be able to tell things uh, from an emotional perspective, or from an intuition perspective. If you're a woman, can't tell you here, this is so loud. I didn't even be that loud. Yeah, that's about it. Anyway, so women have women's intuition, guys have gut feeling. So when you're in with them there in person, you sort of react as an animal. You see a lot more in person than you do on a video. You can look anywhere you want. Things are going to sound differently, and it's easier to pick up more information. So I don't know how much. I have to say it'd be easier for me too, because you can see a lot more details in person. I think a lot more detail. 1 second. All right, go. So a lot of times, if you're seeing a person if you're dealing with someone in person, you get a lot more information before, and you get a lot more information afterwards. So you get a better baseline on them before they start talking, and you start wondering if they're being honest or not. You get a lot more information from a body language perspective, from a behavior perspective, because you get more time with them in person, and you get more information because you can see more of them. In video, you usually just see somebody sitting there. You see one side of them, and they're answering questions or whatever. Well, when somebody's in person, you see them turn around, talking, picking things up. Where are they really looking? What are they looking at? You can look at that too. You can hear what's going on in the room much better. You can see what the temperature is. All those kind of little things about, we talk about it when you need a good baseline. All that stuff's there. So you can see what you're actually dealing with. Because as we talked about before, when you're observing someone, you have to take into consideration everything happening in real time. Once you take everything in consideration, what's happening, what are you seeing, and what information are they transmitting to you in that environment, you have to go through that and look at it in real time and make decisions about it. So it's easier to get an idea of what's happening in person because you get a lot more information than you do when that person is on video. Like here, you can see a lot going on, but you have no earthly idea where I am. You know what my hand is doing down here. Could be doing that the whole time. Who knows? You know? So you get more information from someone in person than you do on a video. But that would be my thoughts on it anyway for you to answer your question. All right. Do children display the same behaviors while lying as teens or adults do? At what age do kids really know they are lying and do it on purpose? All right, that's a good question. Oh, that was a little chihuahua. Looks like a little lamb. Freaky stuff. Oh, it's a fake goat. Got me on that one. It's a little like a thing in the yard. It's a tiny little goat. Anyway, so yeah, kids, from my understanding of it, children usually learn to lie around 3, 4 years old. That's when they go, oh, I can say this, and that's going to happen, even though it's not true. I may want to eat this, and I'm going to tell them that so I can get this candy, or say I haven't eaten yet, so I can eat something. It's little things because they don't have a lot of experience yet, so they're not good at with life yet, so they're not good at making up lies yet. So they're usually fairly obvious, and you can nail them pretty good. But when they get around 7 or 8, that's when they start getting creative. 9, 10, oof, you got to be careful because they'll say things that sound possible, but it's just totally crazy. It's like that when I told you that story about my nephew when he was telling me that he was the airsoft champion in Knoxville, and he wasn't, and I totally bought it. Yeah, so it's 3 or 4 is when they realize they can be deceptive or be dishonest, and there's really no penalty for it at that age, really, until you start getting older. And I think that's when things start changing for them, when they start getting in trouble for it. So then that's why the behavior is different in children and teens and adults, because the children don't have as much experience with life, so they're not good at lying. They are because they lie with confidence. Their confidence is way up. But as a teen, you get a little more creative because you have a lot at stake there. You're lying about things that are important to you back then. You don't want to get in trouble because you don't want to get grounded or not be able to use the car or something like that. So you got to be good at lying when you're a teen. So that's when I think you hone your skills. Because I sure did a lot of it when I was in high school. Everybody I know did. That was when they were in high school. Ended up being great liars for high schoolers. Not just to each other, but to teachers, but to get away with stuff with our parents and all that. Not constantly, but when you get in trouble you don't want to get in trouble for something. You just lie about it and hope it worked out well. What else we got? Does empathy affect someone's ability to interpret body language? As in, would a narcissist be able to pick up on the same cues as an empathetic person would? Well, let's talk about sympathy versus empathy. Empathy is where you see somebody hit their thumb with a hammer because they're nailing something. They actually hit their thumb. And you go, oh gosh, I bet that hurt. And you can put yourself in the position of that, feeling that pain. If it's sympathy, you feel sorry for that person that they're feeling that way, that it happened. You don't say, oh, I know that's got to feel horrible. You say, oh, I'm so sorry they feel that way. Oh, I'm sorry that's happening to them. That's sympathy. That's normal. So is the empathy part. But you deal with a clinical narcissist. You're not dealing with somebody who is a person who is flowing with their empathy. Let's just see, their empathetic side isn't alive and kicking. So it's really hard for the narcissist to have empathy, I think, because they usually don't, especially the clinical narcissist, which can actually be dangerous sometimes. Psychopaths, no empathy whatsoever because their amygdalas don't work, or they're missing. They're functioning improperly. So, and it's part of the limbic system, the amygdala, and that's what gives you the ability to have a lot of different things, but to feel, to have empathy and sympathy and emotions. And when the amygdala are missing, you don't have any of that, not much at all. Some people are under the impression that psychopaths do have emotions. They can have anger. We see that. That's about it, because they're into revenge most of the time. So you never want to make one mad. It could be a person who's totally normal, seems normal. They're not out killing people. Usually, most of the time, psychopaths don't do that, believe it or not. And I've talked about that on here. But they've become famous because they kill people in movies and stuff. And there is no term in the DSM for psychopath. If you looked in there, you won't find psychopath. But they are described as antisocial personality types, which is normal. That's what you call them. But in the zeitgeist, they've become psychopaths, known as psychopaths. Same thing with a sociopath. We've talked about that, how there really aren't any. It's just a different form of narcissism, just a clinical narcissist, or a person who is not, their emotions haven't been able to blossom. And from childhood on, they haven't developed. So they're usually violent. They're usually just violent criminals. They're not psychopaths, but they do have emotions. They do feel empathy and sympathy, but not very much of it because of the way they were treated when they're little as they grew up. Their parents were mean to them or abandoned them, or all they saw growing up was violence and being mean and being, horrible people. Could be alcoholics, could have beat them all the time. And that's what makes that little person's personality turn toward that. It's horrible. That's usually the reason for that, for the hardcore criminals that are termed as sociopaths. So let's see, what's the next one? Next question is, what behavior of a psychopath creeps you out the most? The one that freaks me out the most about psychopaths, or dealing with them, or talking to one, interviewing one, is when they start imitating me. I don't like that. And they don't realize that I realize that, because it's one of the things I'm looking for. When that starts happening, one guy who did it the best really bothered me for a while, because as soon as we got there, I never met this guy before. As soon as I began talking to him, doing a little small talk thing, try to get a good baseline on him, next thing you know, man, this guy's acting just like me. He's already got my diction. He's already got my cadence. He's got all that stuff in just a few minutes. And by few, I mean 7 or 8 minutes. That wigged me out totally. I called Greg right after that. I said, dude, you're not going to believe this. And otherwise, this guy was like a lizard. But he was literally being a chameleon of me. I don't like that when that happens. People that do it when they imitate me and stuff, it's hilarious. That doesn't bother me at all. But when I see a psychopath or someone that's dawning on me, that's what that is. You're like, oh no. And they start doing that. That's the one that creeps me out, because I know they've done it their whole life. No telling what they've gotten away with. Not because it bothers me that he's doing me, but it bothers me because I know he's gotten away with a lot by doing that, or she. That's what bothers me. Yeah, that's the creepiest part. It's not the stuff they've done. But when they're able to just sit in that place real quick and just grab all your info and go, oh, okay, I got this, and start acting like you because they want you to like them. That's the thing. They want to connect with you on a level that so you'll feel like, oh, I know this person. They're okay. Everything's okay with this person. I like them. And you like them because you like you. They're like you and you like them. So that's the main thing there. So that bothers me when I say I don't like that. They're able to do it that quickly. Because I know they've done it a million times before. Telling they've gotten away with. Can a form of laugh be a virus, the same as you described linguistic viruses? Yeah. I got a good story. I got two good stories about that. There's this one guy in high school, and he's usually just a normal old good laugher, normal old guy. And then one time he'd gone to spend the summer with his cousin. When he came back, when he laughed, he'd go like that when he laughed. Normally he was just a normal old laugher, but he'd go, it was just so weird. So he sounded like this dog named Muttley that was on a cartoon when we were little kids. So we started calling him Muttley. And to this day, everybody calls him Muttley because he laughs like that. Then there's another guy in college who met this girl, and he went and stayed and lived with her parents once, or lived with her family for a summer to go hang out with them. Apparently, it takes a summer to make this happen, in my experience. And he comes back, and he's always been a normal person. Every time he laughed, he would literally say, "Nyuk, nyuk," and he would go like this, "Nyuk, nyuk." It was the strangest shit I'd ever seen in my life. But you'd say something would be really funny, and he'd really be laughing, but he'd go, "Nyuk, nyuk, nyuk." He'd say, "Nyuk, nyuk," like Curly from the Three Stooges. It's weird. So yeah, it can happen. It happens all the time. I don't know why you asked that. You must know somebody that's been doing that. It's wigging you out too. Let's see. Is there a mispronunciation of a word dealing with body language and behavior you've heard someone say incorrectly that made you laugh out loud? Yeah, I got one. I was doing a talk. I don't know what the group was. It's a lot of them, like a big room full of them. And it was like one of those hotels they have, that looks like it goes on forever. And I said, any questions? You go through it. And this guy comes up front. There's a little microphone. And he goes, I have a question about a narcissist. Narcissist? And I was like, yeah, try not to laugh. I don't want to embarrass him. He said, oh, what a narcissist. And he went on about this question and kept calling him a narcissist. And so I'm trying to let him know it's not narcissist and saying narcissist. But I go, what are you doing with a narcissist? And I put the N on the narcissist real hard. So I'm sure I look just as weird to everybody else as he did to me. Because I don't know how well they could hear narcissist. Because I go, when you're dealing with a narcissist, it's that hard in. I'm sure that was weird for them. But yeah, so that's the funniest one. So I tried not to laugh at it. I didn't laugh. I mean, I probably had an odd look on my face. That was weird. Narcissist. Bless his heart. He didn't know. Probably just learning. All right. Let's see what the next one is. Do you think some, not all convicted murderers, not serial killers, can be rehabilitated and should be released into society? That's actually not a body language question. I'm not into murderers. I don't like it when somebody kills somebody. Yeah, so if you're convicted, I don't get, yeah. If you killed somebody, you're convicted of it, you got to do your time, man. Period. No two ways about it. You got to go. All right. If you have any questions about body language, just email me, bodylanguagequestions@gmail.com, and I'll answer them.